Pelicans come in as the 7, the Lakers are the 8. The winner gets the 7 seed. They lock up their spot. They have a date with the Denver Nuggets, and that goes to the Los Angeles Lakers. They defeat the Pelicans 110-106 in a game that was close in the first quarter, but there was a big second quarter run from the Los Angeles Lakers that gave you a pretty decent deficit at halftime. However, you were able to fight back. You had a big third quarter. You made it tight down the stretch in the fourth quarter of that game. I mean, you were tied at home with 5 minutes to go in an NBA game. Winner takes on the Nuggets in the playoffs. If you're a Pelicans fan and you're like, okay, we're tied with 5 minutes to go at home, I'm taking that every single day of the week. You got that exact scenario, and it didn't pay off for you. And the box score kind of tells the tale of this game. So Zion Williamson was great in that game, even though he missed the last 3 minutes because of injury. We'll get into that a little bit later. Spoiler alert, it's not great news. But Zion goes off. I mean, he has 40 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Just 3 turnovers in that game. He was excellent. It was everyone else around Zion. Now, Brandon Ingram played 25 minutes, only 11 points, shot 4 for 12, and had 4 rebounds. Now, Ingram, this is only his second game back from injury. I mean, if you remember, he missed about 3 weeks with a knee injury in his own right. And, you know, he just looked rusty out there, as expected. And the rest of the team, it just seemed like they were trying to get Ingram a little bit too involved. Everything seemed a little bit janky. He's been out of the lineup. You've had Trey Murphy in there instead. You make the switch back to Ingram. The flow of the game seemed messed up from the start for the Pelicans. Herb Jones, you know, Herb did what he did. He had 10 points. He played some solid defense in 35 minutes. Valanciunas, we talked about this when I was hosting for OTV about 2 weeks ago. You got to get Valanciunas involved. Coming into this game, you were 6-6 in your last 12 games. You were 4-6 in games where Valanciunas played 20 or more minutes. So if he plays 20 or more, you had 4 wins, 2 losses in your last 6. When Valanciunas played less than 20 minutes, you had 4 losses out of 6 games. So it was a complete 180. He gets that 20-minute mark. Very inefficient, though. He's only 1 for 7. He finishes with just 4 points. Now, he did have 10 rebounds, but no blocks. His defense was limited in this game. He was just rough. It was rough for everyone. CJ McCollum, we talked just a second ago about Brandon Ingram's, limited minutes. What's he going to get? He's rusty coming back from injury. CJ McCollum is a guy that I really would have liked to have seen step up in this game. It didn't happen. He was 4 for 15, just 1 for 9 from 3. Finished with 9 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. Now, everybody that came in, with the exception of Dyson Daniels off the bench, got you double digits. Larry Nance, he had 10 and 12. Jose Alvarado, just 10 points, but we know what his defense was, and he was great as a distributor. 7 assists last night. Trey Murphy, he played 31 minutes. He had 12 points, 4 rebounds. Just that starting 5 that you rolled out there, it was janky all game. It was a little discombobulated. And again, part of that is because you put Brandon Ingram back in that starting lineup, and he's been rusty. He hasn't played with these guys in about 3 weeks. They had a nice little groove going with Trey Murphy, and you changed that up. And, it's a game when you look at it, you beat the Lakers in every single category except 2 really important ones. They dominated you in 3-point percentage, and they dominated you from the free throw line. In close games like that, in the NBA playoffs, 3-point shooting and being aggressive and getting to the free throw line is paramount. You didn't do either of those things. In terms of pure field goal percentage, you outshot them 46% to 41%. But you were just 9 for 30 from 3 for 30%. The Lakers, on the other hand, 14 of 35. That's 40% clip. And the free throw line, we talked about it a little bit this morning on OTB. T-Bob had a deeper dive into it about the free throw disparity against the Lakers and the Pelicans. Look, you got to expect that. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, the Lakers, they're going to get all the calls, whether it's at home or on the road. And it wasn't just the amount of times the Lakers got to the line. They shot 26 of 29 from the stripe. 89%. You, on the other hand, just 11 of 15, 73%. Because if you look at the rest of the box score and you say, okay, we have 30 assists, the Lakers have 24. You have 23 fast break points, the Lakers have 19. The Pelicans had a 62-36 advantage in terms of points in the paint, and you lose this game. And a big part why, again, the 3-point percentage, the shots from the free throw line. What do you always say? You want to make more free throws than your opponent attempts. That's what the Lakers did. They made 26 free throws last night. The Pelicans only attempted 15. So while that's all certainly a big story, the biggest story now is what happened to Zion Williamson late in the game. I mentioned it. He was excellent out there, but he missed the last 3 minutes. And at the time, they called it left leg soreness. And, everybody's going to sit there and say, oh, okay, same old with Zion Williamson. A minor injury keeping him out. Well, it seems that injury is a little bit more serious. Adrian Wojnarowski actually tweeted about 10 to 15 minutes ago that Zion Williamson actually has a hamstring injury. He will miss the game on Friday, the must-win game against the Sacramento Kings. And that's what worries me so much about this game. Because look, are you upset that you lost last night's game? Sure, but you got to put it behind you. You played LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I get it. LeBron is still 38 years old, but he's still LeBron James, right? I mean, at times when he wants to and he kicks it into that gear, he's still the best player on the court any given night. I mean, you watch plays he made last night. I'm sitting there, scoffing at the TV a little bit, but then I start thinking to myself, I'm like, it's almost hard to be mad at this because what are you supposed to do? I mean, you see LeBron at 39 years old running out there making plays like he's 29, running past guys. You saw him take 2 charges against Zion Williamson in that game. When's the last time you've seen LeBron stand there in the paint and take a charge? Everything you needed from him last night, you got. So while you hate losing that game, you get it. It's LeBron, it's Anthony Davis, it's the Lakers. It was going to be a tough out. But you play this Kings team on Friday. You're down Zion Williamson. You don't know what you're going to get from Brandon Ingram. He's clearly still not 100%. He was rusty as heck last night. And you're playing a Kings team that not only are they very comparable to you, because if you look at how they play, they're a little bit of a younger team, kind of like you. They're a good 3-point shooting team. They play pretty good defense. They get a lot of production from their bench. They're not very dissimilar from you. They're also a team that you're 5-0 against this season. So think about that real quick. You're 5-0 against a team that is very comparable to you, has a similar record that you do, and those 5 games do not matter. It all comes down to a must-win game in the Smoothie King Center on Friday night. So you can go 5-1 against the Sacramento Kings, and it's not going to matter. That's what worries me. This team, a month and a half ago, were fighting for a 4 seed. Now you're in a must-win, back against the wall game against a team that you've dominated all year, but it may not matter if you don't win this last game. It just seems like the Pelicans are destined for the play-in. Again, you're knocking on the door of a 4 seed. You're right there at the 5 line. What happens? Brandon Ingram goes down. You go 6-6 in the last 12 games. You kind of stay afloat, right? But you lose Zion Williamson in a game that, going down the stretch of the fourth quarter, you had already made your comeback. You had already battled back from the Lakers run. This was a game that you really looked like you were going to win. You dropped the heartbreaker at home against a team that I believe you're better than, and you're a lot younger than. You should have been the fresher team in that game. You were not. Now you have to play a young, hungry Kings team that wants to avenge the 5 losses that you have given them this season without your most dominant player in Zion Williamson. And your number 2 guy, Brandon Ingram, is still recovering from an injury and looked really rusty last night. You're going to need a big game from CJ McCollum, but can you get it? I mean, it wasn't just last night. The last few games, I mean, CJ's had a good game sprinkled in there, but he struggled a little bit. His age is certainly starting to show here down the stretch as you wrapped up the regular season and into last night. I am going to be cheering my heart out for this Pelicans team on Friday. This game worries me, though. It worried me before we knew that Zion was going to miss the game. Now that we know for certain that Zion's out, what kind of team are you going to have on the court? And if you win that game, you get the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, who are playing as good as anybody in the NBA. And are you really going to expect Zion back for that game? I mean, he may not miss the whole series, but I would say at this point it's likely that he misses a couple games in that series as well. Now, you're better on the road than you are at home, so maybe that's the only bright spot. You do get the Thunder on the road, but they're very good at home. I worry about this game on Friday. again, I'm going to be pulling for him. We'll see what happens, but a banged up Brandon Ingram, a CJ McCollum that's on a cold shooting streak with no Zion Williamson against a hungry Kings team that is looking for their first win against you this year in a must-win game. I think it's all of that together is a bad combination. We'll see what happens on Friday because they're going to play the Kings, and again, they are going to be without Zion Williamson, who will miss that game because of a hamstring injury.